it's good to not just have like all of our media dominated by sadness.
Where are the quiet gays? Where are the quiet gays supposed to go?
Hey, Lesbian Book Club podcasters, welcome back. We're so happy to have you. Today we're talking Tangled Darkness by Mary Desch. And hey, listen, this book is out now, so you can go get it. Go to her website and, buy that book because it was pretty dang good. It's a psychiatric thriller / medical thriller, and it follows Leslie, who is a psychiatrist, and Lauren and I are going to talk about it. So welcome. We're glad you're here.
We're glad you're here, and we're glad to have Haley back today.
I'm glad to be back.
If you didn't catch our last episode, Haley was perfectly ready to come on and help interview Margaret. But as we all know, the airline industry is a little fucked right now. So what happened?
Oh, let me tell you what happened. I was stuck like a sitting duck in the airport in Denver for 14 hours, and my back hurts, let me tell you. I spent the night there, and I got 1 hour of sleep, and I was a day late to home. It was okay, but what they did is they flew me all the way back to point A, back to LA, to then go to Montana. And I thought that was so silly. And I made it 2 hours before the wedding I was going home for. So all was well. I was exhausted. And then I got up the morning after the wedding, after sleeping for 5 hours that night. And I drove to go see my sister and my brother-in-law. And then 2 days later, I slept for a full day because I had a collective, over 3 days, 9 hours of sleep. So
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and a lot of action. So,
well, yeah, because you were in the wedding, right?
I wasn't in the wedding. It was a reception of, so it was one of my best friends from like my whole life, and him and his wife actually got married. It was like an elopement situation in January. Okay. So they had a celebration with family and then me and one other friend from high school. So I felt really, really special to get to be there. And it just was honestly like, I walked in and his mom started crying, and I just felt like it was the most special thing in the world to be able to make it there and show up for him. And I just, it's one of those things where you feel so lucky for friendship, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God. And to think you almost didn't make it. That would have been devastating.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you made it. And I'm glad too. Because this is so much more fun doing it with you.
I saw a bear.
What? Like a real, like with your own eyes?
Yeah. So I forded a river and then I hiked, and I was a half mile into the hike, and my dad
did what to a river?
Forded it, like walked across it on my legs.
Is that what that's called?
Yes.
You are such a country girl. I am a valley girl. There's no rivers here.
And we were half a mile in, and we were just thinking how much bear sign there was. And then we hear crack and turn around, and this big old healthy black bear is walking towards us over some logs. So we're like, hi, bears.
Okay, but black bears are okay. I do know that from some. Okay.
That's a common misconception.
Really? Because that doesn't surprise me. For some reason, for like 2 days, I was stuck on like bear TikTok. I don't know how I got there. And it was like this guy doing an impersonation of like, literally on all fours, pretending to be each type of bear. And when he did, I have to find it. I'll find it. I'll send it to you. And it was a black bear. And he was like, oh, hey, what's up? You look nice. Okay, I'm gonna continue.
Well, it is true that black bears are typically a little less scary to run into than a grizzly because they're usually not quite as big as a grizzly and they're a little more spookable than a grizzly.
Okay.
Like a grizzly, you're gonna have a little bit of a harder time scaring them away from you.
Right.
And a black bear, you can kind of talk to it and they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna head out. And the thing about a bear, though, is it doesn't matter what kind of bear. If you have food or if it's a mom and it has cubs around,
yeah.
If it decides it doesn't want you there, it's gonna beat the snot out of you.
Okay,
to let you know that.
That's fair. Obviously, a mom with cubs, I wouldn't want to be around any type of bear, but okay, well, I guess my TikTok wasn't super accurate.
However, though, any kind of bear is probably more scared of you than you are of it.
Except polar bears. Not that I think we're really going to come into like play with polar bears, but I've heard those are like, no, you're dead. Like there's no escaping.
I don't have experience with polar bears, so I couldn't tell you.
Damn it, Haley. You're my closest link to who could be possibly have a sighting of a polar bear. But that's really funny. Okay, she forded a river and she fought off a black bear.
Well, I just picked the same berries as the black bear was also picking. So.
Well, that probably means they're safe at least.
Yeah, well, trust me, I was there to eat the berries.
What kind of berries were they?
Huckleberries.
Shut up. That's a real berry?
Yes.
I thought that was just like Huckleberry Finn, like a nickname.
No.
What do they taste like? We are so off course here. I don't even care.
They're a little sour. They're kind of tart, but they're also sweet and they're so delicious. And they are the reason to live in Montana. They're like everything's flavored huckleberry if you go where I live.
Okay. Next time you go, get me like a huckleberry pie. I feel like you can make pies out of these.
Yes. However, also a pound of huckleberries runs about $95. So that's why because they cannot be domesticated. So you have to go pick them by hand and they only live in high altitudes.
Real? So like I couldn't plant them in my garden?
No.
Why? I can plant anything. I grew like 4 cucumbers and I'm like, I can plant anything.
They refuse to be domesticated.
I love that. We shall be like huckleberries.
Yeah.
Okay, Tangled Darkness, medical thriller. Let's just jump into it. What a great transition that was. I'm a seasoned podcaster over here.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Leslie. She is our psychiatrist at this practice. So let's get into the setting of this.
Yeah.
Have this practice and she kind of just like rents a space. She's not really like formally a part of everything else going on in here. And that's important because the rest of this is sort of a shit show.
Yes. And we're in the Pacific Northwest, which is, I feel like can lend very easily to like kind of spooky type, settings. And
Twilight.
Yes, Twilight. But also I just think of it as like it's raining a lot. It's cold. But yeah, it's an ominous setting, I feel like.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true. Also, I was envisioning, because this is in Portland and sometimes, Leslie's out and about and driving around. And I'm just like, oh, I wish I was driving around on the Portland streets and crossing the bridges and seeing Mount Tabor.
Okay, that's funny because I was like, Pacific Northwest, that's where like all the serial killers are. So, yeah.
Gasp.
Yeah,
oh, no.
Gasped. She gasped. So, yeah, you can really see the difference in Haley as my personality. If you haven't seen it from the 70 episodes we've released before this. But yeah, Haley, you're so dreamy. And I'm just like, I don't want to be murdered. Right? Someone please save me.
I just returned from the woods, reinvigorated.
The black bear you saw.
My liveliness. Yeah.
I'm a fairy. I got away from a bear.
She was a fairy. Yeah.
He was
yeah.
a fairy. No, so okay. So Leslie is our psychiatrist. She is married to Izzy. So I love Izzy. I talked to Mary about this, and we find out that her wife is pregnant after a miscarriage. So that is going to be playing in the background. And I think that was like a good thing to keep in mind while you're watching Leslie go through what she's going through, because it's also in the back of Leslie's mind all the time, but it's in the forefront of Izzy's mind. And I think that's what gives Izzy her character development and motivation through this book.
Yeah. It's like that concept. Leslie's not a man. However,
right.
When Izzy is carrying child, this is like the thing she's going through, right? Mm-hmm. And Leslie is also going through it, but like not in the way that Izzy is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? So Izzy is responding to things that Leslie does in like a, bro, I am with child. Why are you putting me in this position?
Like, why are you moving the way you're moving when we are expecting a baby? Because to me, like Leslie, I don't know if it's her background coming into play, but like I even told this to Mary. I was like, she's a little unhinged. Like she is doing things that like, let the detectives handle it. Let the police handle it. Right. Because there's this murder that happens and Leslie just decides I'm a detective now. So I'm going to just go investigate. And you're just like, and I get it. Trust me, I get it because I am also like an investigator and I always want to know what's going on and what's happening. And I'll, do a little Instagram research here or there on some things. But yeah, Leslie needs to remember that her wife is literally pregnant with like they've had a miscarriage. So it's scary. It's a little bit more of a tenuous situation here. You got to keep Izzy from getting too stressed out and, all these different little factors. And yet this is like the most stressful situation.
Yeah. Which, okay, then we enter this whole debate of would it have been the right choice to just tell her all of the stress things immediately upon finding out that she's pregnant? Because she finds out that she's pregnant and she finds out her really stressful situation all in the same night. So it's like, okay, give her all the stress really early on in this pregnancy or hold it off for as long as she can and then tell her, which is what she chose to do. So I understand her reasoning there, but then Izzy was like,
but then it feels like betrayal. Yeah. Then it feels like betrayal because, okay, but so the stressful situation is Damon, her coworker in this shared office space is murdered. And not only is he murdered, but there are all these drugs missing that Bryce, who is just this asshole other therapist in the office, like is trying to pin on Leslie. And because Leslie has a background as an addict, it seems more believable. There's a DEA investigation. There's a board complaint, right? So Leslie's really going through it. Like not only is like her license might be taken away, her girlfriend's pregnant, one of her friends has been murdered. These are all happening to Leslie but also Leslie is married to Izzy and she does choose to not tell her about the DEA and the board complaint. She tells her about Damon, obviously, because she can't really keep that as a secret. It's going to come out. There's going to be an investigation. The other thing is Izzy's dad is a former detective and coincidentally enough was the former partner of the lead detective on this investigation, right? So that wasn't really going to be able to be kept a secret. But I do like understand where Leslie's coming from in keeping the board complaint and the DEA investigation separate because that's a lot, especially remembering that Izzy had a miscarriage before. So I get it, but I also understand Izzy being like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. I had this conversation with my girlfriend after, and because she raised the question of like, okay, if I had this crazy investigation thing happen to me, like, and you were pregnant, would you want me to tell you? And I was like, yes. Yes, I
want-
would be so mad at you if you just tried to handle it by yourself and didn't
See,
tell.
I literally want to call my girlfriend in here right now and ask her like on the podcast because she is an investigator. I want to be like, let me set the situation up for you. Would you tell me? Okay, she's coming. She has no idea what she's walking into right now. We have a question for you. Question: if I was pregnant and you had some crazy investigation going on, but it was like personal to you, okay, so our main character, she's a psychiatrist, and her wife is pregnant, and her coworker's murdered, and she has a DEA investigation over some drugs they think are stolen. So all this going on. I'm like, first trimester. I previously have had a miscarriage. What information would you tell me? Would you tell me about everything going on?
In regards to the investigation?
Yeah. And like the coworker dying, like, would you tell me everything, or what would your thought process be?
Is it just drugs?
His drugs are missing and like they think you stole them.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wouldn't tell you anything.
She would not tell me, guys. Why?
I don't know. You had a miscarriage already, right?
Right.
So I just don't want to risk you going through anything that can, jeopardize that again.
Okay, everyone. She agrees with our main character. So our main character did not tell her wife either.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that reason. Haley said she would be mad if her partner did not tell her.
Why?
Because I think that I could help her like talk through the situation. And then I think that she would.
Oh my God. Why is there books behind me? There's no books. Okay.
She's faking. She's bald and she's torturing people who don't have hair. She's
This is what Haley
got no
does.
books and she's torturing people who have books.
You're hilarious. Okay, so you think you could help?
Yeah, and then like once I found out about it, I'd be like, so this is why you've been acting so weird. And I thought like I was making up all these stories in my head about it all this time, and like this was the truth. I think I'd just be like, what the heck? Why aren't you telling me things? Like, we're in this.
Haley, what's your sign?
A Taurus.
Well, with that information, it's different.
Right. So our main character's wife also was very upset with her wife for not telling her about the situation.
Yeah, I mean, just based on what you said, no.
Yeah, well, that's what Leslie does. She doesn't tell us.
But then
she doesn't tell Izzy either.
Yeah, no, I guess I don't have much information about the book. So.
Yeah. No, but okay. Thank you so much for your service.
Thanks, Claudia. So, I mean, okay, here's the thing is I don't blame Leslie. Like, I understand why she did it.
Yeah.
But if I was Izzy, I too would be mad.
I think I would be a little upset either, but I think also you have to like know your partner. Like I can tell from like her response, it's like it's out of protectiveness and like not jeopardizing anything. Right. And I think that's the same as Leslie's. She's like,
yeah,
it's kind of like a, what's that term where it's like, you're damned if you do and you damned if you don't.
Yeah, it is. Also, here's the thing about Izzy is that at some point she was essentially, I feel like she overreacted. Let me see if I can find this note I made.
And I'm hoping that everyone listened to our interview with Mary because we're kind of going to jump around probably here. But I think Izzy overreacted after Leslie got attacked.
Yes.
That's the point where I was like, girl, there are more important things. Like your wife just got stabbed and you're going to go sleep in the other room?
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on. That's a little much.
Yeah. So it was at that point, it was that night where Izzy says that it's too much and that Leslie broke her trust by not telling her about the board complaint. And it was at that point that I was like, all right, I think you're a little bit overreacting because.
Yeah. But I mean, the hormones are a little crazy when you're pregnant. So.
And I've never experienced that. So. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience. You can get a little agitated. But I mean, yeah, I just think you got to see the bigger picture, Izzy. You know, your wife is in pain. She's been attacked, stabbed, like her friend has been murdered. Like, don't go sleep in the other room. Like, sleep with your wife. I don't know. That to me, I was like, calm down. Okay, so let's get into this murder investigation. Damon is murdered, and he was kind of acting weird before the murder, so much so that Leslie, which this isn't great for her in the investigation, goes to his house to check on him. He doesn't answer. So she's actually the one that calls in for a welfare check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is so wild to me that like they use that against her, because I'm like, girl was worried about her friend.
I know. And that was the other thing too, because so I'm hoping everyone has read the book and that obviously you guys have listened to our former episode, because Bryce is really trying to pin this on Leslie. And it was almost like he was doing too much, right? Like it was too perfect. And I think we also talked about how like that worked on Detective Levy because she is very new. She's a new detective, not even just a new detective, but like a newer police officer, like not very many years on the job. And so this, she was like, no, everything like says this, but it's the season. It's the older detective with more experience who's like, this is too perfect. Like we need to keep investigating. It doesn't really like, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to the amount and degree that they want us to believe.
There's just sketchy stuff going on. And Leslie starts to uncover some things. Like she had overheard arguments between Damon, and Damon had some really erratic behavior right before he went missing. Like she had overheard that Bryce was making Damon edit charts, and she also knew that Damon was working really late overtime hours and she didn't know on what, and he looked terrible, and he gave her a really weird phone call like the day before, very recently before he passed away.
Right.
And it was very confusing to her. He was calling out, but it was like not, it was unlike him, essentially.
Right. Exactly.
So he was not acting like himself. So that was very suspicious to her. And also just knowing that there was conflict within the office, she starts kind of poking around, trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Knowing that the drugs are missing, knowing that there's chart edits going on. So she is now poking around with reception and with the bookkeeping, because also they had a former bookkeeper who quit, and she starts noticing a sketchy uptick in quantity of patients who are paying independently under new information, but they have been there before. So this is kind of like her first big clue that something weird is happening within the office, but she hasn't figured out what it is yet.
But then before she can really focus on that, Damon's dead. Like, and they're like, oh, like maybe he was using, maybe he, you know, these drugs are missing. Maybe he's the one that took the drugs, but he's also been like blunt force trauma over the head. So how do you do that to yourself? I feel like that was like such a flaw of like, if you're trying to plan this as like a suicide, like you can't whack him in the head. All right.
No.
We end up figuring, right? It makes no sense. Like, and we end up finding out, which honestly was a complete shock to me, that Michelle, who's the nurse in the clinic and kind of the person under Bryce's thumb, is the one who ended up committing the murder. That was a shock to me, and like props to Mary for that twist. I was like, the whole time I'm like, I understand that Bryce is in on this murder. I understand that he has orchestrated it somehow. But what actually happened? And the fact that Michelle was so involved, it was really cool talking to Mary about these characters, because she was talking about how every single one of them really had like mental issues going on. And Michelle's like really seemed like what we would call a psychotic break. I think from like her past trauma, and then also like being under Bryce's thumb, being so controlled by him. Like, I think that you can only do that for so long. So we find out that like she ended up killing Damon. And I still don't know like how Bryce was able to get her to do it.
I don't think that Bryce even asked her to do it, because Bryce was trying to get those drug guys to do it that whole time.
Right. Did he think that they did it?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he just thought that he overdosed.
Yeah, that could be. Which is crazy. I mean, God, I really hated Bryce in this. I think he's written for us to hate him, right?
Oh,
But,
of
like,
course, yeah.
it worked because I was like, he is just such an asshole. And he has like no redeeming qualities. The entire time he's like cutting women off when they speak, walking through the world like he owns it, like telling people to get out of his office. Like, I'm just like, I don't fuck with you. I don't like you.
No, not at all. It is really interesting that Michelle kind of follows through with the things that his ultimate goals, but it doesn't seem like she's doing it for him at all. Like, it just kind of aligns with this sort of delusion that she's having,
right? Because
she envisions Damon like her dad, and that's why she beats him to death.
Yeah,
because he was high, and which is also just really, really wild that she works in this addiction clinic. Yeah, because if she thinks of addicts in that way as horrible people who deserve to be killed,
yeah,
then that's probably not the place for her to be working. No. And obviously her way of thinking comes from the way that she was treated from her addict father. So that's a trauma-based response and way of thinking. But she thinks that way of Damon when she sees him high, and then just has this like response to beat him and kill him, and then cover her tracks and make everybody think like the worst of him, that he overdosed and killed himself that way. Because, she also starts thinking this way of Bryce.
Right.
Yeah, she gets this kind of like abusive vibe from him, rightfully so, and is just like very, very angered by him. But like, instead of trying to kill him, she just gets angry and like acts out in other ways.
Yeah. And the thing about like another detail of this whole storyline is Bryce is trying to get Leslie out of the office because he wants to run this like under the table, I don't even know what to call it, scheme to get more money from insurance companies. And like, he knows that Leslie is incredibly smart and is figuring it out. So eventually she starts figuring it out more and more, and she starts confronting him about it during this murder investigation. And so he's like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking take her out too. And he tries to get the drug guys to do that as well. And that's where like, I loved like the climax of this with Leslie getting attacked, and then Michelle and Izzy situation that happens. Like, I just felt like that was like such a fast read for me, going from starting at that point. Because Bryce, when he figures out that Leslie's really onto him, hires these same people that he thinks he's hired to kill Damon from the start. And they go and attack Leslie in the parking lot. And who comes to save her but Michelle and Brad, right? Isn't that, which is Izzy's dad, because he's been trailing them. But Michelle is like, looks like a great person. Like, we know she's in on the scheme with Bryce, but it seems like she's almost like having second thoughts about it and wanting to come clean to Leslie. And you think she's going to do that, but instead makes a complete 180 and ends up like using the information that Leslie gave her while she's being attacked, like, please call Izzy, like, here's her phone number, uses that information to literally kidnap Izzy. And not just kidnap Izzy, but drug Izzy, who again is pregnant, and like hold her hostage. She's tied up. Leslie goes over to Michelle's because now we can't find Izzy, right? And Leslie's putting everything together, goes over to Michelle's and like is basically also attacked, and she's having to like hold on until the police get there while she's being like chased around with firewood. It's such I could see it in my brain. Like I was like, this is a movie. I can see it. I mean, we say that about every book, but I just think we read a lot of really well-written books.
It was very vivid and easy to picture. Mm-hmm. And Pearl was like the unsung hero of this whole thing because even though she had nothing to do with any of this, she was like, okay, yeah, I'll come over. I'll help you decode Damon's stuff on my day off and I'll be your emergency contact in case you need help. And she called the police and got them there to save Leslie and Izzy's life. And she pulled through.
You know what she kind of reminded me of? Misty from Yellow Jackets.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. In some ways, because Misty ends up being completely psycho, but she's also like kind of a pick-me, which isn't Pearl. You have to have seen it to like understand Misty's like character, but she's very much like, I want to be involved. I'll help. You know what I mean? And I feel like that was Pearl. Pearl's like, I mean, yeah, like I'll like you said, help you decode stuff. Yes. Okay. I'm ready. I have my phone in my hand. If you text me one letter, I will call the police. Like I'm ready to go. Go on with your investigation, Leslie. I'm here for you. And she really was the unsung hero because she was the one that ended up calling for help.
Yeah.
And leading the police there to get there, to save Izzy, to save Leslie. Like she really was the unsung hero of this book.
Yeah, she was awesome. It was very interesting too to kind of like watch Michelle have this break from reality in this last scene where she doesn't know who she's talking to. She is having a conversation out loud, but it's not with anyone who's in the room. Like Leslie is witnessing it happen, but has nothing to do with her.
Right. Which is probably like all of Leslie's training as a psychiatrist was probably very helpful in keeping Michelle at bay for as long as she did, because Leslie can recognize that she is having a psychotic break. Mm-hmm. She's like, okay, she is not coherent. She is not here. She can really use the tools that she has as a psychiatrist to de-escalate the situation. It didn't work, but it definitely stalled. So
we also see here, I'm diverting from this scene. In this whole like drug exchange sketchiness that's happening in the office, we really see with different characters how far they're willing to go for money, right? Like with Bryce, he's willing to kill for money, and it's because his grandson is sick and they lost their health insurance. And a lot of people...
If Bryce wasn't such an asshole, I could get behind. Not the murder part, but like doing the criminal things to be able to pay for something like that, which,
yeah,
I mean, don't even get me started about the fucked up healthcare system that we live in, but because we all know that I would have something to say about that. But he was such an asshole. I was like, fuck that kid. I don't even care. Get him. Like, get Bryce.
I mean, we all love a Robin Hood, but yeah, Bryce, I would not consider a Robin Hood at all.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And then there was Sloane, and for him, it was different. It was about the money, yes, but it was less about having money and more about, I would say, an equal split between his gambling addiction and his feeling of stuckness.
Yeah. And Sloane, I don't know if we introduced Sloane. Sloane was another psychologist at the practice who was kind of Bryce's mentor. And it was almost like they just had this like 30-year-long relationship. And Bryce is such a narcissist that when you're in a narcissist's orbit, you don't want to upset them. Mm-hmm. You don't want to make them mad. And when you're so enmeshed in this 30-year relationship with someone, you don't even realize the shit that they've gotten you into until it's almost too late. And we saw it almost be too late for Sloane. in juxtaposition to Bryce, he actually does have some redeeming qualities and ends up turning himself in and being like, I got to get out of this one way or the other. And it's either run away and live with this guilt that's going to eat me alive forever, or like just come clean. And probably hope for a plea deal, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, he turned in people and told the whole truth. So I'm assuming they'll give him a break for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was ready. He had gone through everything he needed to do. He had paid a whole bunch of money to get fake documents to be able to flee the country. And he ended up making the choice to go and tell the truth.
Yeah, and luckily there wasn't any more collateral damage, because Izzy was almost collateral damage. Leslie was almost collateral damage here. I mean, Michelle, I would consider, even though she's like the murderer, I would consider her collateral damage in Bryce's scheme, you know? But luckily and unfortunately, Damon is the only one who was killed in this entire saga.
Yeah. I mean, like, what would Michelle's life have been like if she hadn't gotten involved with Bryce? Like, she has all of this trauma, but she could have lived a perfectly healthy, normal life.
She should have gone and worked like pediatrics or something.
Yeah. Or, I mean, that might have been kind of sad. She might have seen some really sad situations.
Yeah.
Maybe she should go do like a really boring clinic, like go do checkups or
work in like a
dermatology.
Dermatology, yes.
Yeah. Michelle should have done dermatology and never gone around Bryce.
Agreed. I think we touched on this a little bit with Mary, but just talking about how, I mean, obviously this is a lesbian book club, but this book, our main character is a lesbian, but it's not the sole focus of the book. It's merely existing within the world and the lives of everyday people. And I remember you saying how much you loved that.
Yeah, I actually, when I was home, my sister wanted to go to this romance bookstore that's brand new in the town I went to college in. So we went there, and the owner of this bookstore was super helpful, like walked up to us and asked us what kind of books we like to read and gave us recommendations. And there was this whole queer section in the bookstore. And she was like, this author is really good, writes about like lesbian relationships as though it's just completely normal. I was like, oh my gosh, I was just talking about this just last week on my podcast.
Yeah.
About how it is so refreshing when it's not like the whole thing. It's just a natural, normal, like piece of life.
Yeah.
And she said, yes, because it doesn't have to be like a trauma that we're gay. It's just part of our life.
Right.
We have enough traumas because of the way that the world is. It just needs to be regular. And I was like, yes, you're so right.
Well, you know, it's so funny. That's reminding me of something that I think I said to you on one of the very first episodes when you came on as a host, was like, yeah, I'm going to give you this like lesbian education, but like all of our stories are tragic. And all the things that have been written, all the movies, like either one of them dies or they can't be together because of society. And so I think that's what you're seeing now. Like, you've seen a lot of that in the things that we've covered. And so then to have this book that Mary wrote that is just life, and it has a happy ending, and you know, the trauma doesn't have to be the sole focus, or the coming out story isn't the whole focus. Like, I think that's so beautiful, and I hope that is the way our media and our literature like develops. I mean, don't get me wrong, like those are great plot lines. They really are. They really, you know, we got to cover Carol and the book that was come from, because that is such a tragic story as well. But it's so beautiful, and there's a reason it's like stood for as long as it has. But yeah, again, it's just nice to have more than just that in our media.
Yeah, because while it is true that a lot of queer people have that kind of really painful experience in their life of like not being accepted, of having a tragic ending, of suffering in a way, of like struggling in society. There is also another side to the coin of like so many of us being able to just have this love in life that is completely normal.
Yeah.
And it's good, exactly what you're saying. It's good to show both. It's good to not just have like all of our media dominated by sadness.
Right. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that was Tangled Darkness. This is kind of like our second part of this book. If you haven't, please listen to our interview with Mary. It was wonderful. She's such a bright human. I'm glad she is finding her passion and entering into the author world. And we can't wait to read what she has next. We are going to be taking a slight summer break. We realized after almost a year and a half of not missing a single week that we might need a little break. Our eyes are a little tired. But we still have some things scheduled for you. We might do another little in-depth episode of what's coming up. We do want you guys to be reading Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid because we're pretty sure that's what we're coming back with. I can't wait to read it. And I was telling Haley, I was like, the Sally Ride documentary just came out. And if you guys have not seen that, please watch that as well, because I'm going to make Haley watch it and we're going to talk about it. If you don't know who Sally Ride is, she's the first American woman astronaut in space. And her story is kind of what we talked about, a little bit tragic, because she kept her sexuality hidden until even after she died. And her partner is actually the one that does this documentary, obviously in conjunction with HBO, and talks about her story. And it's really beautiful. And from what I know about Atmosphere is it's a space novel. And Taylor Jenkins Reid just recently came out as bi, which like is water wet. We all kind of figured that one. So definitely be reading those. We are not quite sure when we'll be back, but it will be, we're not leaving forever, promise. And yeah, Haley, what do you have to say about any of that? Did I cover most of it?
Yeah, you covered it. We'll have little surprises for you. So it's not like we're disappearing off the face of the earth, but we do just need to take a rest, a little vacay, if you might say. So anyway, we'll miss you. We love you, and we'll be back. Mwah.
Mwah. Love you guys.
Bye.